Athletes Once podcast. I'm Cody, and it is hockey night. So, as always, I'm here with Julian. And we've got some big things to talk about. First and foremost, congratulations to the Carolina Hurricanes on being the 2026 Stanley Cup champions. I don't know that when they went down 2-1, if we saw this happening. Vegas looked like the better team. It seemed like when they played their game, they were just significantly outplaying them. A lot of players weren't showing up for Carolina. The goaltending went from being excellent to very shaky. And some significant changes had to happen in order for Carolina to come back. So what for you was the big thing for Carolina to not just climb back into this series, but ultimately win it and not need 7 games to do it?
The switch from Frederik Andersen to Brandon Bussey seemed to bring, maybe it was a wake-up call, something like that, but I think it came out Freddie was hurt. But Bussey played outstanding, and then they seemed to be shutting down the Vegas' top guys. I think Marner had no points in his last 3 games and was held to like 3 shots, so just keeping those the real threats that were going on there. You had the first 3 games, you had Brett Howden, who was scoring out of his mind, had more goals in the postseason than he did in the regular season. But Mitch Marner was on a tear, and holding those last 3 games we were talking about at last podcast. If Vegas won Game 4, we didn't think Carolina could do it, and Carolina came out there, tied up the series, and they ended up winning 3 straight. And we thought that'd be pretty hard against this Vegas team. And maybe if Carter Hart would have stopped more than, or not let in 4 goals every single night, besides the one they lost, I think it was 3-0. Vegas could have had a chance, but in that the game Vegas needed to win to push to another game, they couldn't even score a goal. So I just think it ultimately came to stopping the scoring from Vegas, and maybe the goalie change as well.
Yeah, and it really did. Again, we go back to the beginning of the series. We said the X factor was which goalie can play the best, which one isn't going to crumble under pressure. I think they both did. Whether Freddie Andersen's actually hurt or not, to be determined.
Yes.
But one team got good goaltending in the end, and one team didn't. Carter Hart fell apart. He did not look good. He made a few good saves, but it also hurts when your team doesn't score any goals. So that's a problem. But Brandon Bussey looked great. Yeah. He was playing out of his mind, making big saves when he needed to. When he came in, that was it the first game he came in, relief, and they scored the overtime goal, the fluke goal off of him. Kind of in your head, you wondered, is this going to be a problem? Is he going to be in his head now because this goal's kind of a weird one? Yeah. But he wasn't. He looked fantastic. He kept him in the game. He made huge saves when he needed them. And the other thing that we said that Carolina had to do if they were going to get back into this was they had to get some kind of scoring from their top line. Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov had to get going, and they did. And that, I think, was the biggest change outside of goaltending in this series, is that when the big players were needed, they came through. But more importantly, I think, the MVP going to one Jordan Staal?
Yeah.
Woo!
I was a bit surprised by it, but I also understand it. I really thought we were going to see maybe a Stankoven, and those last few games, maybe even Jackson Blake. He had an outstanding
Jackson
playoff.
Blake looked really good.
He kind of gets overshadowed. I feel like in the media, he had an outstanding playoffs, and he's still super young.
Yeah.
And I feel like Marner still should have been in that conversation, but didn't end up being that way. Stahl had an amazing finals. He scored in,
6 goals in 6 games.
So it just unreal performance from him. He was great on the D side, amazing in the offensive side. He was laying the body. He was doing what a captain should, and he led that team. And they ended up winning. And I'm very happy for him. It was really cool seeing him win again.
Yes. I still debated whether it should have been Stankoven or Stahl, but just what he does on both ends of the ice. It wasn't just about scoring, but when you score 6 goals in 6 games in the finals, you're carrying your team, and you're a center. You've got more defensive responsibilities.
Yeah.
You're good on the face-off. You're gonna play the PK and the power play. He just did so much for that team. So I'm happy for him. I wonder now if we're gonna see a retirement from him this offseason. Because he's played 20 years. Like he's had a good long career, and to go out on top, what's better than that?
I don't think anything beats that. Speaking of retirement, I was just looking right before the podcast. Jonathan Tays might retire.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
He wanted to give it a go. It didn't go as great as he probably hoped it would have. But I mean, that's also hard. You were out of the game for what, 2 years,
3
and
years, something.
and trying to come back into it after something that most people would have retired at the first time. So
Yeah.
he tried. Doesn't shock me. I also saw, what's his name? Pierre Edward.
Vlasic?
No, Belmar. Also announced his retirement as well. Very underrated player, in my opinion. He's a good third, fourth line guy. Has lots of games. PK guy, just does what you need to do. So,
Yep.
Whether it's the end for Tays or not, he's had a great career. He's achieved a lot. He's a great captain. As much as I hate to say that, I respect what he does and what he did. He was a good player, and I enjoyed watching him play, even though it was a detriment to my team. Unlike his other teammates, I actually respect him.
Yeah.
So, congratulations on those careers. Now we want to get into. Actually, before we do that, what happened to Eichel in this playoff series? I feel like we have to talk about this before we move on, because I was just thinking about it and I'm like, dude was invisible.
I did not notice him at all.
Like, I didn't even hear his name being called.
No, he had a few nice passes there the last 5 minutes of Game 6, but outside of that, genuinely watching those games, you like that's a name you expect to hear
a lot,
time and time again in the game, and you're sitting there listening. You don't even think about it at the time, but looking back at it, you didn't hear about him. He wasn't really on the score sheet. He didn't really do all that much. He ghosted. I don't know what it was, what happened, playing through an injury. I don't know. But
he was not one of the names that came out on their injury list.
He just disappeared. I don't know what got to him. Maybe Torts isn't the coach for him.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have to worry about it. Speaking of that, Torts is out. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, injuries, some of them came out. I know Braden McNabb, obviously, we know that injury.
Hanifin had something.
Hanifin had something. William Karlsson, I think they said he had a broken wrist, is what it ended up being. And there was another player who had an upper body injury. I can't remember off the top of my head. But there's definitely injuries they were playing through. Yeah. That doesn't mean Carolina wasn't. They just haven't released that yet because they're too busy partying and celebrating. So we'll find out in a week or two. But I think when you looked at Vegas, like outside of Marner, you needed your best players to be your best players, and I don't think they were. And I think Carolina's best players finally stepped up and were being that. I do think a lot of Vegas secondary players do need to get credit, though. We talked about Brett Howden. He looked phenomenal. Pavel Dorofeev, he's an RFA, and they need to re-sign him. He looks like a stud. Ivan Barbashev, our guy, man. What doesn't he do? He hits everything that moves. He's got good hands. He scores. He goes to the front of the net. He PKs. He on the power play. Like, love that guy. So underrated. Trying to think of other big names that stepped up in that series that I kept thinking about. But if you look at it, outside of Mitch Marner, like Mark Stone was almost invisible too. Jack Eichel was invisible. I'm like, your best players got to be your best players, and they weren't. Your secondary players were very good.
Yes.
Carolina's secondary players were awesome the whole series. And then when those primary players, those main guys, stepped up, it really changed the outcome of this series, in my opinion. And that's what made the difference.
And they in goalie too.
Yeah, that and Vegas also kept shooting themselves in the foot by taking stupid penalties.
Yes. Tons.
Also, I gave props to Braden McNabb for playing through an injury. After watching him post injury, I couldn't stand watching him play. I'm like, you are taking cheap shot after cheap
Yeah.
shot, and you just need to go sit your butt in the box because
Yep.
you're hurting your team more than you're doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you might save a goal once, but when you cross check dudes while they're on the ground and take penalties and give them repeated power plays, like maybe you shouldn't have been playing through it then
Yep.
because you hurt your team.
Yeah.
So I think Carolina stepped up when they needed to. I think Brandon Bussey was the big piece that they needed to give them kind of a change of mindset, like you talked about. But then Vegas' top players not being their top players, I think, is the ultimate deciding factor in what happened. Speaking of something you just mentioned, John Tortorella is out as head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights after they brought him in with 8 games left of the season. He went 7-0-1, got him to the playoffs, got him to the Cup, loses in Game 6, also cost them a second-round pick.
Yep.
It reports are that he wanted to come back, and Vegas said no, and hired somebody who's been an original misfit. Like, he was on, I gotta find what his name is. Ryan Craig. Hired Ryan Craig. He was part of the original Misfits. He was an assistant coach from the very beginning. The last 3 years, he went down and was coaching the Henderson AHL team. And it kind of seems like this was the plan from the beginning, whether they won or lost, that they were ready to give Ryan Craig his shot with an NHL team. So, what are your thoughts on this one? Because this whole situation is weird, right? Like, you fire Bruce Cassidy, you bring in Torts, Torts goes on a run, you don't bring back Torts, you hire this guy from the AHL, but you're also not giving any teams permission to talk to Bruce Cassidy. Like, what do you make of this whole situation?
I think it's within their rights to do that to Bruce Cassidy.
Oh, hold on, you're freezing.
I'm good.
You're good now.
It's within their right to do that to Bruce Cassidy, but it's kind of scummy. I mean, if your plan wasn't to rehire him or something, I don't know why you would after firing him, but it's kind of scummy, my opinion. I think Torts coming just for the playoffs was probably the push Vegas needed. They kind of had a mediocre regular season, and I don't think many teams had them, or many people had them going to the Cup final. So I think Torts probably was the right hire for that. But keeping him long term, I kind of agree with that. I don't know if he's perfect for that team. Not saying he isn't, but he brought their energy back. They playing really well, but I don't know if it was. I don't really know what their vision is here. Does what would you say? Jim Craig was his name?
Ryan Craig.
Ryan Craig.
We like Jim Craig, goalie of the 1980 U.S. hockey team.
You said he was only AHL before?
He was AHL the last 3 years, their head coach, but he was the assistant coach for Vegas from the beginning.
Yeah, so
kind of like that Steve Ott kind of thing for us here in St. Louis.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it pans out there. Obviously, he hasn't had a head coaching spot in the NHL yet, but we don't know what's going to happen there. I think Torts probably is done as a coach now. If I had to say, maybe he comes back for another run like that. For some team's going to fire their coach on the cusp of a playoff berth, and maybe Torts comes in and solves the issue. But outside of that, I don't think he's coming back long term for any team.
Yeah, let's talk about coaches for a minute because it's an interesting one that's going on right now. Edmonton still without a coach, and they kind of seem like they're just waiting on the NHL to do their thing with Mike Babcock and ready to bring him in.
I think they cleared him today. Mike Babcock.
3 hours ago. Look at that. Clears Babcock to coach the Oilers. So it looks okay. So let's just get ahead of it. It has not been official that they have signed him or agreed to a contract, but they did clear him. So Mike Babcock going in with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. How do you feel about this one?
I think McDavid's probably gone if that's true. He'll play his year maybe, but I don't think he stays if Babcock's going to stay long term. You've seen what he's done in past teams, what his coaching style is. I don't personally think he's an awful coach. I just don't think he's great in the locker room.
I think he's a tool bag to players.
Yeah, and I don't think McDavid's really looking for that right now in his career. I think he's probably, is he 29 now? 30?
He's getting there.
And he's probably got about 6 really good years, maybe 5 really good years left.
29. Just turned 29.
Okay, so he probably has 6, maybe 6 to 8 years of really goodness left. And if you're going to waste 2 or more with Mike Babcock being your head coach, and we've seen how he's done with younger players now, and they have Isaac Howard coming in. And
we know how Isaac Howard is.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I feel like he'll probably will get hired. I don't think they'd push him through all this NHL investigation stuff just to not hire him, so he probably will end up there. I just they should have let him rest. They should have just kept him without a job. I don't think that was another beast we needed in the NHL right now.
Yeah, again, we talked about just the recycling of coaches, and this just seems like another one of those. Like, you're trying to get a guy who has been under investigation, who's been basically suspended from the league. No one wants him because of how he treats players. Now, my only pushback on that is he loves superstar players. So I think he will cater to McDavid and Draisaitl of whatever they want. But what is the team around him going to be? Like, we know this team
it's kind of bad.
has cap issues because of the big contracts. So you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of lesser, cheaper, young players, and we know that Babcock doesn't have a good history with those players. So
Oilers will be interesting because it sounds like Nurse is probably on his way out. If it doesn't happen now, maybe next season. But
he seems like he's more willing to be traded. They don't have defense.
You have Bouchard.
You have Bouchard, really defense, who just is an offensive player.
Jake Wallman, I guess. Who wants to, that's your
one,
had
2 good seasons.
Yeah, and Wallman's is going to be your top pair guy with Bouchard behind that. That's just awful. And I wouldn't say McDavid is the greatest defensive mastermind ever. He's not horrible by any means, but they don't really have defense, goaltending, and then they're stuck with Draisaitl and McDavid and an aging.
It's not good. It's not good.
It's not good. Hyman didn't really have a great season. He scored almost 50 goals a year or 2 ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
But
that's right. That's what happens when you play with McDavid.
Yep. Yeah, so the Oilers will be an interesting team to watch this offseason for sure, and then into next year, seeing what they bring. But if it was anything to go by this year, they were starting to decline a little bit. They had a great year the past 2 years before that, but no defense catches up, and no goaltending.
Yeah. It very high profiling of the teams that needed head coaches this year, of the hires that just happened. So if and when Mike Babcock happens, it sounds like it's about to, now that he just got cleared this afternoon. Vegas going with a rookie coach. I actually enjoy that, giving someone new an opportunity. We'll see how it goes, but they're at least trying something different. So I'm on board with that. And then the other big hire was the Toronto Maple Leafs have hired Jim Hiller as their new head coach. And again, their whole front office is kind of new, with John Chayka coming in to be GM for a second time now in his career, and Jim Hiller coming in. So for those of you that don't know Jim Hiller, he was an assistant coach for the Islanders. Then he was named the interim head coach for the Kings, and then he took over for the Kings for the last 3 years. So he's been coaching the LA Kings for the last 3 years. He gets fired by them, and Toronto picks him up. How do you feel about this one?
The Leafs got another guy who's allergic to the first round. You can't really knock it all on him. They played a really good Oilers team 4 years in a row, but he has an all-right pedigree. They had a pretty decent Kings team there. Wasn't really, I wouldn't say a contender, but definitely a playoff team. And they didn't really ever perform all that well against the Oilers in the 4 years in a row that they did play them. And honestly, I think that Kings team is probably better than the Maple Leafs team he's picking up now. Even getting a guy like Gavin McKenna or Stenberg, whichever they go with, I think Matthews is probably gone. I think it's going to be a new Leafs in a couple years. And if he's there for it, I think he might just be a placeholder until they figure out what direction they're heading.
Yeah, and the things about Hiller that people always say is he's good with connecting with players.
Yeah.
So is he going to get the best out of them? Maybe. Maybe that's what they need, especially offensively gifted players. And we know Toronto has high skill.
Yep.
And then the negatives that he gets criticized for is in-game adjustments and how he runs the power play.
Yep.
And you've got a highly skilled offensive team, so maybe that's okay. But, I mean, the Leafs are the laughingstock of getting bounced in the first round, and you're bringing in a coach who's not willing to make in-game adjustments when things aren't going right to get bounced in the first round if they make it back there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this team's very good.
No, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're losing Morgan Riley as well, which wouldn't really be the biggest hit ever. But the goaltending's all right, I guess, if Stolarz is healthy. Defense is pretty terrible. Matthews has had a few down years. He still played well, but he's not the Austin Matthews of 3-4 years ago when he's scoring almost 60 goals every season, if not 60 goals. So they need to figure that back out. Nylander needs to figure it out. And one bright spot for them is Matthew Nyes. I'm pretty high on him. We'll have to see how he performs with a new coach and how the team's playing.
Or if they keep him.
They keep him, true. So we'll see. We have to know what the direction of the Leafs is. They have new GM, new coach, new president of hockey. So
a lot of change.
Yeah, a lot of change. So I would expect to see some changes. If we'll see with this upcoming draft and free agency what the Leafs have for us.
Well, I think we know at least one new player that they will have on their team.
Yeah.
Outside of that, who will still be there? Who knows? Let's get into this offseason. We're going to talk about the offseason today, and then next week we'll talk about the draft. Spoiler alert, they're going to draft Gavin McKenna number 1. So that's the new player we know will be going there. And if they don't, I would be shocked, even though I don't have him as my number 1 prospect. But they will take him. He's biggest upside in the draft. I just concern about effort, laziness, thinking he's already better than he is, and willing to work. Defensive side of the game is not good. So
the Shane Wright story.
It sounds like every other offensively gifted player Toronto has drafted. One would think maybe we're going to change our ways, but I doubt it. So as far as this offseason goes, we already talked about it last week. There are not a lot of free agents that are worth it. Alex Tuck is the biggest name on the market. After that, it's not good. If you need a player, you're going to have to trade for him.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about some of those trade candidates. Maybe if we have a certain place we think would be a good fit for them, or any predictions of where they might go. There's quite a few that are on the block, and it makes sense because when we did our trade deadline preview, we talked about a lot of similar players, and a lot of them didn't get moved. And we said, listen, if they don't get moved, it's not the end of the world, because almost every player on this list has term. And that's kind of what's keeping a lot of teams from being able to trade for them during the season, is they've got so much term, value's higher. So now in the offseason, we can kind of figure out that roster construction, where our cap sits. We can maneuver things. We can go over the cap by a little bit and still move something out. That's just not allowed during the season. So we're going to look at a few of those today and see how some of these teams might be shaken out here in a little bit. So here's our 2026-2027 NHL offseason trade targets. And I think we have to start at the biggest name that we kind of skipped out on last week when the news came out, and that's Dylan Larkin. Dylan Larkin, about a week and a half ago now, requested a trade from Detroit. Not good for Detroit fans.
No.
Your captain, your hometown Detroit kid who played for um, for Michigan does not want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
That's not a good look. This is a very attractive piece because, again, you're talking about I'll call him a 1B center. I don't think he's on the top end of the elite centers, but he is a number one center. And he's signed for 5 more years at $8.7 million. And with the rising cap, that's a sweetheart deal. Yeah. You see the speed. He's got some offensive gifted abilities, but he's a good speed player. You know what he brings.
Yep.
We've known Dylan Larkin for a long time. We know what kind of player he is. He is reportedly given Steve Yzerman 3 places he's willing to go, and those places are Minnesota, Florida, and Vegas. Do you think he goes to one of those 3 teams?
I think Vegas is probably off the table just because of their own cap issues and players they have to sign and figure out over there.
And they have no prospects.
Yeah. So I think Wild, Florida makes the most sense. If there was a team that would fit perfect with him, I think it'd be the Wild. But I don't think they have the assets to get him without kind of blowing up their core. And then you look at the Florida Panthers, and they have more than enough to give up, plus a 9th overall pick, which might be interesting to a Red Wings team that's kind of been stuck in this situation. But for a team to get him, I feel like they won't really have to overpay because he wants out, but they also can't underpay because they don't have to trade him. He can stay. He's got 5 years. It's not like he has a year left and just, trade me, please. Get me out of here. But if he would fit perfect with the Wild, I think Kaprizov, Boldy, Larkin as your top, that would improve their center depth too. You have the Larkin and Eriksson Ek there. That would be pretty nice. And Florida has the centers they could trade back. Frundell, I believe, or not Frundell, Lundell. And Luosterainen could be interesting pieces going back there. But if the Panthers were to acquire him, I think that 1st overall pick will be in the mix.
Yeah, out of those teams, I just don't see how Vegas or Minnesota can make this work. Yeah. Like you said, Minnesota would have to give up a major young core piece from their NHL roster because they traded all of their good prospects that they could have gotten a deal done to get Quinn Hughes. And I know he wants to play with Quinn Hughes. He saw that success with the U.S. He liked being around them. But I just don't think they have the pieces to do it.
I don't think so either.
So for me, and also when I think about Detroit trading him, a couple of things with Detroit trading him. One, they have to get a young center back.
Yep.
Like, their center depth is garbage. Andrew Kopp would be their number 1 center once they trade Dylan Larkin. That's not good.
No.
I'm all in favor, if they trade him, of just saying let the young kids play, because they do have a lot of young talent that they could rebuild. The other thing that I think about when it comes to Detroit and trading him is Steve Yzerman doesn't care. Like, you're not going to bully him into doing something. Yzerman will say, screw you, you're playing. Like, those are your options. Either play or don't play and be fined and make no money.
I agree.
And I don't think Larkin's just going to sit out.
No.
Because Yzerman's more stubborn than he is.
Yes.
I also think Steve Yzerman at this point should probably be fired because your captain, who's from there, refuses to talk to you and wants out. That's a big problem. Also, we've seen the Yzer plan fail multiple times at this point. He's not a good GM. I'm sorry. You were a really good player, even though I can't stand you. You're a bad GM.
Yep.
Florida works, and I think it's mainly because of those things. I think the question is, are they willing to trade Anton Lundell? Because that's a young center that you don't necessarily want to give up, that you drafted highly a few years back. Barkov's not getting younger, so he's on a pretty good team-friendly deal for a few more years. So that's not a contract you really want to move. But if Florida is willing to move him and that number 9 overall pick, I think that's the start of a deal. I think you have to give up more than that, but how much more is debatable. I'm sure you
Yeah.
could work it out. If you said we're going to give you 9 and Lundell, okay, we can make that work.
Yep.
I, are there any other teams that you think could be in play here?
I think if he were to open up his trade list, the Ducks could be an interesting
That's who
fit.
I was thinking.
Yeah, the Ducks could be an interesting fit, or maybe even a team. I don't really like it, but maybe like the Islanders. Barzell apparently kind of wants out as well. He's been kind of the whipping boy there for a
That'd be
while.
an interesting swap.
It would be a really interesting swap, but I don't really know
Would
if that
would
benefits.
Larkin go there?
Yeah, that's the thing. Does he really want to go? Maybe. I think he probably wants to win, and I'd say the Islanders are more than a couple years out. Maybe 2 or 3.
You've got some pieces that are
Yeah,
interesting, at least.
yeah. You just have to make it work before your goaltenders age out.
Yeah.
But I think that could work. But the Ducks probably makes the most sense outside of those 3 that he wants to go to.
That's 100% where I'm at, because if the Ducks are willing to move Mason McTavish, that's a piece that the Red Wings should be pretty excited about coming back. You're getting a young center, and that's the biggest thing if you're moving Larkin is you need to get a young center back. He's already signed to a long-term deal, so you don't have to worry about where he fits. I believe he's on like a $7 million contract for a lot of years. So you're in good shape if that's the main piece coming back. And I think if he's the main piece coming back, you don't have to give up a ton more. I mean, maybe if you're still willing to move Pavel Mintyukov, like you go Mintyukov and McTavish, and that's pretty enticing to get 2 good NHL-ready young players that kind of fit in this core's age group. I think that's my interesting fit. I think a team like Seattle could really use him.
Yes.
I don't think he'll go to Seattle.
No.
I think a team that has the pieces to get him, I don't know if he would go there, but would be really good is also Utah. If they're willing to send Desnoyers back as part of that deal, or I don't know that they'd give up a TJ Ginla. I think they are really high on him. But if you're willing to give up Desnoyers and a couple of those other prospects, maybe your first, like now we're talking. Again, it's going to come down to will Larkin approve a trade to those places. I think Anaheim's the best bet. I think they're closest, and that's what he wants is to win. And I think the pieces Anaheim have with Quenneville there could be that right place for him if he's willing to open it up a little bit.
Yep.
That's going to be, I think, the biggest, most interesting storyline to watch is Dylan Larkin and what he's willing to do. The next player I have on our trade watch list is Jordan Kyrou. This has been one we've talked about for a long time. He's been on the trade block for about 2 years now. It seems like team and player are ready for a change of scenery. Again, this is a 3-time 30-goal scorer. Had a down year this year. But we know what he's capable. He's speed. He has offensive upside. And honestly, if we're going to nitpick, his offense was down this year, but his defensive game took a big step this year. He actually looked like he wanted to play defense for the first time in his career. So I will give him some props to that. I was less frustrated with him this year outside of he's so fast and he does not use his speed well. And I wish he would just skate in a straight line real fast down the sides because he could beat people and he doesn't. So what are you thinking about Jordan Kyrou? Any places that stick out to you? Because I've got a few.
I've got a few as well, but my favorite one for what could come back has been shot down apparently was the Islanders. I mentioned their name twice, two players in a row, but they have some interesting pieces that maybe could come back in return. It might not be what the Blues need, but it's what could come back in return.
What are your players coming back? Because they've got a couple I like too.
I like Victor Eklund a lot, but I doubt.
Yeah, he ain't coming back.
I would doubt it.
That was my guy last year in the draft.
Yeah, blanking on his name right now. He fell in the draft year or two ago. Yzerman could be interesting. And then maybe a pick or two or something like that.
I also love their defenseman, Keishon Aitchison.
Yeah, think he's untouchable
They don't
as
want
well,
to
though.
move him either.
Yeah.
Also, so one of the things that I heard was it kind of been shot down a little bit because the Islanders need offense in a desperate way.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I heard was from the Blues beat writer, Jeremy Rutherford. They were talking on one of the podcasts. They're like throwing that name out as a big fit. And one of the things he brought up was, yeah, but Shen's there, and will he allow that to happen? Which made me think that there might be some friction between those, which, it's a captain and a young player who has a lot of promise but hasn't put in the effort. Like, I could see that. So it's interesting to think that a player that we traded might have a little bit of say of whether we can trade someone else.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think maybe the Sharks could be a fit. I don't think they really need another mid six to top line winger. It's a hard fit anywhere because he could fit on really any team and be pretty decent for them.
Yeah.
Finding the best fit for the best return.
I've got two.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a bad contract.
No, I've got two that I like a lot.
Yeah, let's hear yours.
One is the New Jersey Devils.
I can see that.
I think they need some right wing help. I think they need some scoring help, and they have a gluttony of defensemen.
Yep.
And it seems like another name that will be on. I have two names that will be on this list, one for each of these two teams as a main piece in the return. One is Simon Nemec.
Yep.
Seems like they're ready to trade him, that he's not going to be a part of their future. It's a young, skilled, very highly drafted right-handed defenseman. It's something the Blues lack. So if he is a centerpiece, I don't know what the plus would have to be, whether you can get a first in Nemec. Like, I'm taking that in a heartbeat. I don't think that is what it is, but I also have no idea what teams value Kyrou at this point because he is still signed for 5 more years at $8 million. Like, they're like, oh, that's a big contract. Not with the cap moving up. Like, that's a good contract for a 30-goal scorer, multi. So I think there's interesting things there. And I think my favorite, because their right wing and their scoring is so bad, is Seattle.
Yep.
I think Seattle their top scorer last year was Jordan Eberle. And as much as I like Eberle and what he is and what he's done, like, he's old and should not be your top scorer. Like, he is their number one right winger. Kyrou is an instant upgrade there, instant offense. If you can put him with like a Matty Beniers, like, maybe you've got something that you can get going and use some speed there. And I think they have a good piece that they're looking to move on as well for a change of scenery that fits what something St. Louis needs. And that's Shane Wright. Like, I think he needs a change of scenery. The Blues could definitely use young centers in their prospect pool who can be NHL ready right now. And I think he could get second, third line minutes for the Blues and just have a legitimate run and not be pulled in and out of the lineup like he has been in Seattle. Again, I don't know what pluses need to go there, but as a centerpiece, I think Kyrou to the Devils or Seattle are two that I can realistically see happening.
I agree.
I think, like you said, though, like, Kyrou fits on a lot of teams. He's got a solid contract. He's signed for a lot more years. He's a 3-time 30-goal scorer. Like, he provides a lot of offense that teams would desperately need. So I think a lot of teams fit here. It'll be interesting because he does have a no-trade clause, and he's got to approve where he goes. So is he willing to go to Seattle? Is he willing to go to New Jersey? I don't know where he's willing to go. So all of this is what seems like good fits, where our teams match with prospects and things that both teams could use versus where's a player actually willing to go. That's to be determined. Next up, Vinny Trocheck. I don't know how this guy didn't get traded at the deadline. I think the Rangers are stupid.
I agree.
But maybe it was a smart move because now you have, I don't know, how many NHL teams need a 2C? Almost all of them. Almost all of them. So maybe they could get themselves a bidding war going on with Vinny Trocheck. Any names that really stick out? And with Vinny, I will say, I love what he does. If he can be a low-end 2C maybe even your elite 3C, because he is only signed to 5.5 mil. Like,
Yeah.
and you have like a good one and then maybe a decent two, and you can kind of flip flop him with another two at times. Like, I think that's the best case for him, but I think he's going to
Mhm.
go to a contender. So,
Yep.
any that stick out to you?
Once again, you heard it all at the trade deadline. The Wild make a whole lot of sense. They need another center very bad. I'm surprised they actually didn't go for him. I think some cap space will clear up here in the offseason for the Wild. They'll dump some of those guys like a little they paid for at the deadline to clear up some space maybe. They need a center really bad, and it showed in the playoffs. Um, Other teams that need some center depth, we just mentioned Utah might need a little help there. Could see that one fitting really well. And then this could be an odd take, but maybe even the Oilers. They need a center that
They
isn't
just need
Ryan.
offense.
They need offense. They need a center who isn't Ryan Nugent Hopkins on their second line center spot.
If they would just be willing to split up McDavid and Draisaitl,
Yep.
and then Nuge be your third C, like you'd be fine.
Yep.
But then you got to find wingers. Like,
Yep. And Lord knows they won't do that. So he's an there's almost
I've got two other teams also.
Yeah.
I like Minnesota a lot if they
Yeah.
can make the cap work, because they did need a 2C real bad.
Yes.
Boston,
That can make a lot of sense.
I think, needs a 2C. And then, again, I don't know if they have the pieces. They don't have a ton. Like, Fabian Lysell has been kind of their top prospect. They haven't traded recently. They do have a first, so maybe. But then my other one is Montreal. I think Montreal could use. I think they need a 2C, and I think they could use some veteran leadership with that young team. So he's one that I would be interested to see. And Montreal's got pieces. Like, they've got a lot of things they can give up, whether it's from the NHL roster, whether it's prospects, whether it's picks. They've got a lot, and they're close. Like, we saw what they did this year. Getting a legit veteran 2C could be that thing that could help put them over the top. So I really like Montreal for him. Again, I think he has a no trade clause as well, or a partial. All of their no trade clauses change once July 1st hits. So it could have changed from one year to the next, whether it's a full or a 16 or however money it is. So I don't know off the top of my head what it is, but Trocheck will be moved. It's just a matter of when and where.
I agree.
Next up, Morgan Riley. You mentioned him earlier.
Yep.
Seems like he's kind of on his way out. To me, this does not make sense. Who is going to play defense in Toronto?
No one.
Brandon Carlo? That's it?
Yeah. Yep.
OEL? You're relying on him to play defense?
Yeah.
And to be like a top pair defenseman? What are we doing?
Their defense.
Trash.
And that's another thing.
It's right up there with San Jose.
This contract and this player kind of suck now. So
does he suck, or is he so fed up with Toronto?
It could be that. Genuinely, he was really solid last year, year before. He played pretty well for what he is. He's a bit older. What is he, about 33, I think?
I don't even know if he's that old.
I feel like he's older.
I'll pull it up real quick.
Check.
He's 32.
Okay,
he just turned 32.
Yep, so we'll see what happens.
He's getting older.
This is another one where the Ducks and the Sharks are looking for a veteran D-man to fill their defense, because their defense, one, is really young on the Ducks side, and then besides Trouba, and Trouba kind of...
Trouba and Carlson are both free agents.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. And then the Sharks just
have no defense.
I don't even like talking about their defense. So that could be something to look for there. They can both afford that contract for 4 years for sure, especially the Sharks. So that could be a fit. I think if you were to move, one of those teams would probably be in on him.
I mean, any defenseman we name, we should include the Sharks on that list, because they need everything.
Yep.
So I really like the Sharks one. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other teams that might need a lefty. again, it comes down to, is he willing to go somewhere? Because he's got a no trade clause. And that's going to be the theme with a lot of these is they've got no trade clauses because that's what the NHL does, is hand them out like candy. So he's got to be willing. I think the Sharks are a great fit. I would rather the Ducks play their young defensemen with like Jackson Lacombe and Owen Zellweger, and I think they should keep Pavel Minchikov. I think there's more there than they're saying, but I would rather see that. Whether it'll happen or not, who knows? They might want to speed this up a little bit, and if they do, then Morgan Riley could be a fit there.
Yeah.
Mason McTavish. I am so confused by this one.
Yeah, I don't know why they're really looking to get rid of him. Really good contract, really solid player. Has a room to grow for sure, but he's super young and he's just getting steps into the NHL. And this Ducks team was really, really good this year for what their expectations were. There's a lot of talking points there where you could say, okay, where could he go? I really, if I'm the Ducks fan, I don't think he should get traded, but he could end up anywhere. He could end up on the Wild. He could end up in Central Division. A lot of teams need a center. Wild, Blues, Nashville. I don't think Nashville will be in on him. Maybe. Let's see what other teams. You could maybe even bring in like an Oilers there where you're just talking about centers. What other teams are young and looking? This Kraken could be in on this. I doubt they trade him in division. But the Kraken could definitely be in on that. Maybe a team like the Sabres. Who knows? There's a lot of places he could end up. And if they are looking for defensemen, Maple Leafs, talking about Morgan Riley, that could be an option.
I don't like that at all.
I doubt he gets a return like that, Morgan Riley.
No.
The Blues is always an option too. I've been hearing a lot about that. Could be biased. Would love it.
Parayko.
Yeah, I don't understand how that would be a return for him, but it's fine by me.
And the thing is with him, like, I understand some of it. Like, his offense did regress this year.
Yeah.
He lost the second line center role to Michael Granlund, who free agency last year, we're like, dude got overpaid, but okay. Is he actually going to be a center long term because of some of the defensive issues? Or is he better suited on the wing? Like, some of those things come into it. Plus, you're like, oh, well, they need to give a contract to Leo Carlsson soon, and they need to give a contract to Cutter Gauthier soon. So I can and all those young defensemen that they have would be coming up soon. So if they're worried cap wise in the future, if they don't see him as a 2C moving forward, and they're like, this is the big piece. Let's strike while the iron's hot, while he still has this value.
Yeah.
But I think wherever Mason McTavish goes, it is going to only be for an upgrade. I don't think he's the best player that gets traded in a deal with him, which is why I think he's perfect for a Dylan Larkin trade.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, if the Blues were willing to give up Robert Thomas, this would be a part of the centerpiece for him. Or a Colton Parayko or somebody like that, if that's what they want. So I don't think it's going to be where could he go, because he could go anywhere. I think it's what big trade will we see that Mason McTavish is the centerpiece of.
Yeah.
For me, it's Detroit. I think it just makes too much sense for McTavish to go to Detroit for Larkin.
Yep.
Darnell Nurse. This is an interesting one for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
One, Darnell Nurse has asked to be traded. He has requested a trade. 2, Edmonton has no defense. 3, his contract's not great. And he has a no-trade clause.
I don't know who would want this contract. I've been seeing a lot of the Penguins. Why would the Penguins want another?
I have also saw the Penguins and went, why?
Why? Your defense
because
has the average age of like 39. Why add on another washed up terrible contract to that team to just push your rebuild farther behind?
It makes no sense to me.
I don't think he'll end up getting moved just because his contract's so bad.
Yeah, I've seen Pittsburgh. I it seems like he wants to go out east, so
Yeah.
the Flyers could make sense.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to go east, he wants to stay the East Coast, like
Yeah.
LA could make some sense. I mean, if Toronto doesn't want to sell
yeah.
and wants to try and go all in, they could make some sense. I don't like Darnell Nurse.
I don't either.
Point blank. I don't think he's a good defenseman.
No. I don't know who would want that contract because I don't think the Oilers are looking to retain at least a chunk of it.
If you don't retain, you have to take a terrible contract back.
Yeah.
Or give up a pick to go with it.
Probably more than the pick. That's a terrible contract for 4 more years. And if he plays like he has been on the Oilers elsewhere, you have players who can kind of really outscore your issues there. So sometimes he gets overlooked as how bad their defense is. You send him to a team that doesn't score that many goals and they're letting up, and you add a Darnell Nurse, he's not going to help. And now you have this terrible contract that is just, I don't know. I don't think it's a player that can move with that contract.
It's hard because I also want to somewhat give him the benefit of a doubt because he should not be their number one defenseman. He shouldn't be he's not a top pair defenseman. If he's like a number 3 or 4, fine. But you're also paying him to be a number 1 defenseman, and that's the problem. And if Edmonton's not willing to eat money, and he only will give you a specific set of teams, this becomes a very difficult trade for me.
Yeah. I just don't see it happening. If they were a team that was rebuilding or he just didn't fit their timeline, it makes sense. Like the Seth Jones trade to the Panthers where they could retain half his remaining contract and not really be affected by it. You could move him really easily, I think. Get him down to like $5 million. People would for $5 million, he's a solid player. For getting paid $9 million, nine and a quarter, that's a horrible contract. Horrible contract. It's almost unmovable.
Yeah, so for me, this is a hard thing to deal. It'll be interesting if he gets traded. I think it's going to be Pittsburgh or Philly. Yeah. And I don't think you can move him without eating money or taking a bad contract back. So I think we're going to have to watch to see what's going the other way because it's not good.
It's terrible.
Is this the offseason Elias Pettersson finally gets traded?
I think they're going to stick it out. New coach. I think maybe they're going to stick it out.
I think that's a possibility.
If not, it's a Carolina Hurricane.
I don't think they got the money to do it.
No.
This is one that's interesting because they would be selling so low on him.
Yeah.
For a former 100-point player that you have to kind of go, is it worth it at that point of what you're getting back?
No.
But I tend to agree and think he might not be moved. See what Manny Malhotra can do with him. See what happens with the Sedin twins now being in charge. Maybe they can figure it out. I don't know. I think he needs to be moved. If I'm them, I would move him. Like this team needs to rebuild, and you can't do that with a player making $11.5 million on your contract.
I think you need to move him, but I think they stick with him for one more year just to see if a new coach can break out what he used to be again. Because if you can, and then obviously he's not going to fit their timeline now, if you can get him back to being even a 90, 80-point player pretty consistently, he'll have value. You'll get
and you don't have to eat any money.
And no, you won't. So I think they'll probably ride it out for one more year. It doesn't really hurt them too. I mean, they should have had the first overall pick with him, so it's not like keeping him's going to put their rebuild in danger. So I just, it'll be just kind of a whatever deal if he gets traded. And if he gets traded and there's no money retained, I will have my mind blown.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that just means terrible contracts are going back the other way.
Yeah.
No, this is one that it's interesting because I think there's a lot of teams that might be willing to take a shot on him if they're willing to eat some, because the potential of him not only being a 2C but a 1C is still there. Like we saw what he could be those first few years, and he was elite.
Yep. They can have Pavel Buchnevich.
I'm in.
Yep.
I'm in.
Terrible contract for a terrible contract. They don't even have to retain.
I'm willing to give that a go.
Yeah.
He's only 27. He'll be 28 a little after the season starts, so he's not old by any means. He's a little over the timeline I think the Blues want, but
Yeah.
who knows? But yeah, I kind of agree with you. I tend to think he'll get held on to, even though I think they should move him.
Yeah.
Ryan O'Reilly. Nashville's not good.
No.
And it doesn't seem like they're willing to move Stamkos at this point. It seems like O'Reilly, with 1 year left on his contract, they might be more willing to move if he's willing to move. But it does seem like they're kind of leaving that ball in his court. Like if he's like, yeah, I don't really want to go anywhere, they're not super motivated to move him. So
I feel like they could have traded him at the deadline
for a
if he
bunch.
wanted to get traded. I feel like he's won his cup. He's done his time. Tons of different areas of tons of different teams. He's been a captain. He's had a really good career. He could still be traded elsewhere, but I think at this point in his career, I'm pretty sure he has a family. I don't think he's really interested in moving again. I could see it happening. Anybody would take Ryan O'Reilly on your team. Extreme hard work, good leader, good veteran to have, great in the face-off dot. Wouldn't hurt any team to have, but I think he'll end up a lot like Stamkos and just staying there and riding it out.
Yeah, I think he's more likely to move than Stamkos.
Yeah.
And if this season doesn't go well, then I could see it happening. But I don't think this is an off-season trade. I think this is a deadline deal if he moves.
Yep, I agree.
Going from O'Reilly to a player with much more contract. That is Jake DeBrusk. Again, Vancouver needs to rebuild. Yep. They need to start trading away some of these veterans on contracts and restocking the system. And Jake DeBrusk is that winger that can do it. He's got some grit. He's got some scoring touch. Where do you take on this one?
I think this is a winger that any team that's trying to win a cup could use. You have him in your middle six. He can score goals. He'll play defense. He's pretty physical. He's just a perfect middle six guy, in my opinion. He's on a pretty solid contract, too, especially with the cap rising. That's like maybe 3.5, we'll say, a couple years ago. That's a really solid contract for a guy who can probably score 20 goals, put up like 40 points maybe somewhere in the 40 to 45 range. Would be a really solid addition to any team. It's another one of those where, like, if your team signed them or traded for him, you'd be like, oh, unless the return's terrible. But, like, that's a pretty solid fit. He could end up on a team like the Sharks, and then he could also end up on a team like the Panthers. Any team that's like making a playoff push or thinks they're a contender could think about trading for him.
Yeah, I think any team that needs one of those top six wingers, like you said. Obviously, Seattle needs scoring. We've talked about them on repeat. I think Columbus could be interesting because they could use that, and I didn't put him in our list, but I think they're ready to move on from Kent Johnson, and that's a young piece that could come back and still has high potential. Winnipeg could use some scoring wingers at this point. Ottawa needs some scoring wingers at this point. Again, he has a no-trade clause. So where is he willing to go? I think another interesting one is I think there could be interest, and I think he would approve it, to go back to Boston.
Yep, definitely.
I don't necessarily think he wanted to leave Boston, and I think Boston has more of a need now for what he brings than they did when they didn't want to re-sign him. So I think Boston's an interesting one. But this is a player that can fit on any team. You need a second or third line scoring winger. You need a guy that's going to be semi-physical, that's going to play some defense, that you can trust to be out there, that can play some power play minutes. Like Jake DeBrusk is that type of guy.
Here's an interesting take. If the Stars do move on from Robertson, I'm not saying Jake DeBrusk could fill that gap, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to add him into that middle six, that second line pairing there, and then you move someone up there to replace Robertson. But it could be a thing to watch for as well.
Well, and if you do that, then you have money. You can re-sign Maverick Borg.
Yep, exactly. So that's something to look out for.
Next up, our boy, Jordan Binnington. This has been my take for so long. It's going to be the Florida Panthers. Now, I will say one minor hiccup in that is there are a couple of goalies that are on the trade block now.
Yep.
So they've got some options of, do they want a longer term contract? Do they want someone who's a little bit younger, but not as good? Like, what do they want? But to me, Florida Panthers the perfect. I don't know what his trade value is. Is he worth a second round pick? Is he worth a first? Is he? I don't know. I literally don't know.
We'll just have to wait for the trade.
Where he kind of sits. Maybe it's a second and a prospect. That kind of seems about it. Or like I said, like, do you trade number 9 for 15 in Binnington?
Yeah.
So the Blues can move up 6 spots and they get in the top 10.
That's a trade that I've heard a lot about and wouldn't be surprised. I can tell you, I doubt he goes to anywhere in Canada. Maybe I don't, especially not the Oilers.
Really?
He's denied. From what I've seen, this could be complete falsehood, but I've heard that he's denied many trades to the Oilers. So if there's a team in Canada that really needs a goalie right now that's trying to contend, I'd say it'd probably be them, the Oilers.
Yes, for sure.
No, not the Senators. They have Volmark, but
yeah,
that's iffy as well. But I'd also say that Binnington doesn't really fit their timeline. If the Oilers made a better push this year, maybe he would accept a trade there. If he gets moved, I think it's going to be the Panthers, or maybe you see. I've said their name so much today, and I doubt it happens, but the Sharks could be a weird fit there. Their goaltending was all right last year.
I think they want to ride.
Yeah, I agree. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. If for that Florida deal to work, if you were to, because I don't know if he's worth that 9th overall pick, adding a 15th pick, you might have to retain like $2 million, which wouldn't be the worst.
Which is whatever.
Yeah, and it's fine by me. It's just 1 year. It's not like the Blues are hurting for money this offseason all that much. So, if he were to get traded, I think the Florida Panthers makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think that's the best fit. Other things that I've seen, which, I mean, everyone keeps saying Edmonton, but if he's not willing to go there, he's got a 10-team no-trade list, so he can't say no to everybody.
Yeah.
But if he knows, hey, Edmonton is a team that keeps trying to trade me, I'm going to keep them on my list, nothing you can do about that. So if it's not Edmonton, it's not Florida, it gets a little more hazy of where he could go. For me, I don't think Montreal needs one at this point because they're going to ride Dopes and Fowler.
Yep.
Carolina, if they're not going to bring back Freddie Anderson, they want to move from that contract, they want to bring a veteran to be with Bussy, I could see that. And that's kind of where I see it. You got to find a team that has a young goalie that they want to play, but they're not ready to hand the reins completely over to yet. He needs to be that 1A, 1B type of goalie with somebody.
I could see, the Penguins refuse to give up for some reason. I could see a trade where maybe you get a second round pick and Stuart Skinner, God forbid, and they for Binnington. I could see Skinner being a backup wouldn't be a horrible thing actually to Hofer. It wouldn't be the worst thing ever. But if we didn't have Hofer, Columbus could be there,
with Jet Greaves.
Yep. So there's a lot of potential in these trades. It's just, do they really see Binnington as that guy to?
Okay, here's another one too.
Greaves has a bad season. He could.
Recently, I put him on my list, and we'll get to him. But the Devils are gauging interest on Markstrom. Are gauging interest on Markstrom. If they end up moving Markstrom to, let's say he goes to Florida, then you've got Jake Allen, and we know the relationship that Allen and Binnington have from their time in St. Louis. Maybe then Devils become an option, as Jake Allen's older too, but he signed on a long-term, low-money contract. Maybe you get Binnington in there and they can split some time.
Yeah. Even if Binnington doesn't get traded this season and he plays it out, I don't think the Blues are going to bring him back.
Yeah.
Unless it's
Yeah, it would have to be cheap. I don't know. I think if a team like, I hate to say this, like if a team like Colorado was like, hey, we need a goalie who plays in the big moments, like I think he's the perfect kind of fit for them because
This could also be in on him.
yeah, Vegas would be a good option. I forgot about them. That would be a really good option to go with Carter Hart because again, they have a goalie that will be on my list here in a minute. So I think there's a few options, but he's one that I debate if the Blues are actually going to trade him at this point. Next up is Jacob Markstrom. And I think all of these goalies kind of fall in the same category.
Yeah.
Right? At least Markstrom and Binnington for sure.
Yeah.
The difference is Markstrom has one more year left on his contract. I think Markstrom had a tough year this season, did not look great. Jake Allen was a much better goalie for New Jersey than he was. So the fact that they're looking to move him on not a bad deal, honestly. Like their goaltending tandem makes less than $8 million combined. You just don't see that in the NHL anymore. Says a lot about how he's looked. And then Aiden Hill is the other one. And this is the one that I think is interesting and slightly different, though, because he is a little younger. He is signed 5 more years, about the same money, but he's got that contract.
Yep.
To me, this one screams Edmonton.
Yep, that can make a lot of sense.
And that's if Binnington's not willing to go there. Because Binnington, I think, is the perfect fit for Edmonton.
Yeah.
And if he's not willing to go there, they could try Markstrom. But I think them getting a goalie that's under contract a little longer, I could see their management being like, okay, we're getting the goalie of the future and the now for McDavid. This is going to make him happy. And like taking that mindset into going to get Aiden Hill. I personally am not the biggest Aiden Hill fan.
No.
I think he has his moments, but for me, like this screams Edmonton.
Yeah.
It's hard with goalies.
It is really hard with goalies. They can end up pretty much anywhere, and most teams need a reliable goalie still. There's very few teams that have an extremely good goalie. So genuinely could end up on any team. Especially if they're just trying to find a new goalie. It could just be a dump somewhere that's rebuilding. So
yeah, San Jose. Like
exactly.
Who's got money, Chicago, like any of those teams.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there.
Dougie Hamilton. They've been talking about it for about a year now. It seems like they just want to move the contract. They don't necessarily hate the player. It's more of the contract they would like to move to free up some space, which is weird because they're also talking Simone Nemec, which we've talked a little bit about. We might get to him more. But they're both right-handed defensemen that they're looking to move.
Yeah.
Who fits Dougie Hamilton? Because I think there's a team that we keep talking about that this just makes too much sense. Yeah, that's the one for me too.
Deadline, and it didn't happen, which I was kind of surprised by actually, because it was at the deadline around then when this started coming out that Devils were kind of done with him. He was done with the Devils, and he wanted out, and it didn't happen. But I'm surprised the Sharks were in the playoff push still. Really, they were having the playoff push then. I'm surprised they didn't go out there and sign a guy like him. Or not sign, trade for him.
Yeah, that's all that I could think of was San Jose makes too much sense. I mean, there's a couple of teams that if they want to go win now mode, even though I don't think they should, like Toronto, they need defense. If they want to go win now mode, that's a guy they could do it with. Another team, if they want to go win now mode, who kind of made a little bit of a push, but I don't think they're that good, Nashville. Like, could they pair him with a Roman Josi and have that be their top D? I think there's some options out there, but I think that contract makes it a little difficult if New Jersey's not willing to retain. I'm not sure, but I'm sure he has a no trade clause with the contract that he got. So I'm trying to think if anywhere else kind of makes sense for me.
Oilers.
Nothing's really coming to mind. LA, maybe, if they want to get a little more veteran.
Yeah.
I don't think they should. Another team I don't think should be making a run at it.
No.
Vegas
Maybe.
with Petro's contract.
Yeah.
Not on the books. Carolina's always brought up. I don't think that's a fit. I think Seattle always needs defense and scoring. I don't know if he would be willing to go there. Maybe if he's just fed up with Carolina and it's like whatever. But there's a couple of options. Anyone who needs defense is going to get brought up. So teams like Detroit will get brought up, but they're not going to do that with the rebuild that's about to happen. So Vegas is an interesting one. I hadn't really thought about them until just now.
Yeah.
Simone Nemec, he is an RFA. They are looking to move him. Just like with Mason McTavish, I'll just come out and say this. I think he's part of a bigger deal. I think he is going to be a centerpiece in a big deal. I don't think it's necessarily going to be Dylan Larkin, but if it is a Jordan Kyrou or someone like that, maybe they want Jake DeBrusk and they're willing to go 1-for-1 with that type of deal. I think that could be interesting. I think he could be somebody that a team tries to offer sheet since he's an RFA. And New Jersey could be like, we're going to get a second-round pick or we're going to get a first-round pick in that offer sheet. Yeah, we'll take it. So I think this is just like McTavish. I think this is part of a bigger deal. Just depends on what that bigger deal is going to be.
Yeah.
I like the player. I like the offensive upside. He's right-handed. Teams will like that. The question is going to be defense.
Yeah, there's a lot. Once again, it's a young right D. Most teams will probably be on this if the deal's right. Also, there's the RFA option, like you said. So not probably. I doubt he's on the Devils next year. Unless
I don't think he will be.
Yeah, unless there's some ridiculously low offer sheet that he accepts that they match, but. I
think they'll trade him at that point then.
Yeah, he's probably gone.
It's a player that I would be willing to take a chance on.
Yeah, 100%.
Like if this is part of a Kyrou deal, yeah, I'm willing to do that.
Yep. Only if we're allowed to talk about signing him before.
Well, yeah, for sure. You want to do that.
Yes.
But I don't think that's the only piece in a deal for Kyrou. So
no.
Shane Wright. This is like the ultimate change of scenery type player for me.
Yep, I agree.
He needs to get minutes. He needs to play. I only question his attitude because of everything we've seen so far from the draft till now. Like it just kind of seems like there's a chip on the shoulder that he feels like he was wronged and deserves more, but I don't know that he plays like that.
Nope, hasn't shown it.
So this is an interesting one. I think any team that's rebuilding, this would be a good piece. Let him play, see what he is, because he does have talent. Like, we're talking about a top 5 pick who was potentially supposed to go number 1 at one point. So, this is another guy that I'm willing to take a chance on. And I do think he will be part of a bigger trade as well. Like, all of these young guys that are still prospect, newly NHL players, like I think they're going to be part of the bigger deal. The McTavish, the Nemec, like I think they're going to be part of a bigger trade. I think this could be part of a Kyrou trade as well. I keep bringing it up, but like the things the Blues need are right D and center, and there's a right D and 2 centers on the market. We got to talk about them when they have so many players that they could trade.
I agree.
I like the skill that's there. Like, there are leadership qualities, as we can see in the picture that I put up there. He was the captain for World Juniors for Canada several years ago. Like, he was a good player. I don't know what has happened. It hasn't translated. He hasn't got the playing time. Whatever it is. Some attitude, for sure. So I think this is just one where, and this happens, right? Like, you can have a player that the coach or management doesn't get along with, and it's just a rough relationship. And as soon as there's a change of scenery, it's like, boom, flip of the switch. They are the player we thought they were going to be. They just needed to be in a different environment. And I think Shane Wright could be that player.
I agree.
Jonathan Marchessault. Okay, we talked about Nashville a lot and how we don't think they're going to move on from some of these veterans. O'Reilly, Stamkos, they're going to try and run it back. This is the player I think they legitimately could trade this offseason that I think could move. He did. And there's not a ton of potentially scoring middle six wingers out on this market.
Yeah.
So outside of like DeBrusque or Kyrou, like there's not a lot there which could help his market.
Yeah. So that's another, like, just like DeBrusque. He's a bit older than DeBrusque for sure, but
he's 35.
Yeah. He's got a Conn Smythe under his belt. He has a cup. He's lots of playoff experience. Once again, that's maybe a bottom six, maybe middle six guy.
I think he's a third line guy, yeah.
Yeah. They could add, maybe he gets some second line minutes very rarely, maybe some power play minutes. But outside of that, any contender or team that's trying to make a deep playoff push could sign a guy like him.
He also has a no-move clause, so, again, some issues there. But some of the teams that came to mind, like, I think young teams that are in the playoff push that could use a winger, some veteran presence, someone who's been there, done that, who has a cup under his belt, could be good teams. So for me, someone like Montreal, because we keep hearing they're going to move on from Brandon Gallagher. That could be a third-line guy that they could like. Buffalo Sabres could use this type of player, especially if Alex Tuch doesn't re-sign.
100%.
San Jose Sharks, they've got tons of cap space. They're young. All of their forwards are young. Like, they have very few veterans on that team. Like, that could be something that could be big in their locker room.
Yeah.
So for me, again, it's where is he willing to go? But I think what's going to be best for him is to be able to be that veteran leader on one of these young teams that's ready to take that step.
Yep, I agree. So, like you said, the Canadiens is an interesting spot there.
Or Utah.
Utah could be interesting. Oh, yeah, definitely Utah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's just one of those players, like, he's not going to make the craziest impact, but in the locker room he might. And any team that's looking to coach up or just having a veteran presence there, I think that would be a great addition for those teams, like you said.
And I think this is our last. Nope, I've got like two more. Blake Coleman. You're getting a third, fourth line guy. He's $4.9 million. He's playing for Calgary, so this is a team that is capable of eating half of it to get it down to, 2-4-5. He's going to be a 3-4 guy. He's going to be a veteran presence. He's going to be a locker room guy. He's going to play PK. He's going to hit people. He's not going to bring a ton offensively, but he's just a good player to have on a team. This, I think he falls into the same category, just lower level of what we just talked about with Jonathan Marchessault.
I agree.
I think this now is the last one. Nope, I got a couple. It's wrong. Zach Whitecloud. Zach Whitecloud went to Calgary. He's on a very, very good deal, in my opinion. That 2.275 is what he's got left. Calgary, I think, should probably keep him. But they seem like they want to trade anyone with veteran experience, especially if there's any value. Zach Whitecloud is a guy that I would gladly take on my team.
Yep.
He's not going to be flashy. He'll play physical. He'll be a decent transition player. He's going to be sound defensively. He's just one of those guys that every team needs a guy like this.
Yep. Once again, we've said it like 9 times.
San Jose.
Any team, but San Jose specifically.
Yeah. And he's not, I want to say he's like late 20s, so he's not super old either.
Yeah.
If that, actually. Let's see, double check. Don't want to be super wrong. He is 29. So he'll be 30 through the middle of the season. So you get him until he's 31, 32, maybe at the latest. He's still got another contract under him. So, like, this is a guy that has decent future still, and he's right-handed, which is something that every team looks for. So the guy I would love to take on my team. This is my last one. Jesperi Kotkaniemi. He basically did not play for Carolina in the playoffs. I don't know if he did at all. I don't know. They weren't going to play him anyway. They've been ready to move on from him. It was a contract. It was a long contract they gave him. It is not a bad contract. Like, this is a very solid 3C type of contract.
Yeah.
He has not lived up to the hype, but that's because Montreal took him way earlier in the draft than they should have because they were desperate to get a center.
Yeah.
And then there was an offer sheet, and then he got too much money, and here we are.
Yep.
With a team that's ready to move on from him. And we're talking about Carolina, who's got a loaded lineup. So, like, it's not like he's a terrible player.
They won.
But he seems like, at this point, like, the offensive game isn't going to translate like it once thought that it might. He might just be a 3C decent player.
Yep. And once again, pretty good depth player. Had a pretty bad year besides getting hurt. Had 9 points in 40 games. Pretty terrible. But if he keeps doing that, that contract won't be worth it. But past seasons haven't been bad. 4.8 for about 40 to 50 points isn't bad at all.
Yeah, and he's also getting playing time kind of taken down from what you would have expected from him. So that minutes are going to play a role into that. Injuries, like you said, are going to be into that. It seems like, man, things that I'm hearing, like, they could potentially even buy him out, and that just seems like unnecessary, honestly.
Somebody would take his contract.
Like, you want to get a little bit younger, you want to get some center depth, a team that has decent money, like, or that needs center depth. Someone like LA could use a 3C, because Alex Turcotte doesn't seem like he's ever going to turn into a player they thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
With Tays retiring, Winnipeg could be a team that needs a center depth. If they trade Ryan O'Reilly, Nashville could be one of those teams. They like big players at center, and he's not a little guy by any means. Yeah. So he seems like a change of scenery guy too. And apparently his buyout is under $1 million annually through 2034 because he's only 25 years old. Since he's under that age 26, the buyout is way, way easier.
That's not bad. That's not that bad, then.
No. So a buyout is possible, but for me, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, this is still a 25-year-old. Like, all the stuff that's happened kind of played a role in this development. He was thrown in the league too early. It kind of seems like it might have hindered his development, kept him from getting that offensive game. So, like, there's still potential there, and he's still only 25. Like, and it's not a terrible contract. So I think he's an interesting one. We'll have to wait to see if he gets bought out. I think it might be what's best for him to get bought out, and then he can just be like, hey, let me decide where I go now. Let me and my agent talk to teams and see what they think of me and see who wants to develop me in a way that I think I need. And I think it could be good for him. But again, this is a guy, he's a 3C that has offensive upside and is only 25. I think most teams in the NHL could use this. It just so happens that he plays for Carolina, who one of the few teams that doesn't. But that is all of our trade candidates that I had. Is there any names that you thought of that I didn't mention?
Not that are probably trade
worth talking about.
Yeah. No.
Okay. Then before we go, last week we forgot to talk about things. this week we're not going to. We have had a few trades to speak of in the last couple of days that we wanted to bring up. So the first trade of the offseason was a prospect trade, which was kind of funny because one of the players in it bad-mouthed Brady Tkachuk, and he was a Florida prospect, so a prospect of a team whose brother he just bad-mouthed, and they instantly traded him like the next day to Pittsburgh. I've never heard of either of these prospects, so I'm not super worried about them if they'll ever be there. I just thought it was hilarious that that's why he got traded. And then the second trade that we saw was Philadelphia and Toronto. And this one was a little interesting. I want to get your opinion on it. So Toronto trades Joseph Woll and Simone Benoit for Samuel Ersson, Emile Andre, and a third-round pick. So we've got a goalie swap, a D swap, and then Toronto also gets a third-round pick attached to it.
Good trade for Philly. I mean, it's an all right trade. Ersson's
not good. Ersson's not good.
And Woll's a pretty decent backup, and he can start some games too. And on a streak, if your starter does get hurt, and he'll be just fine. Won't be the best, but he won't be bad. So, and they got a pick out of it too. No, they gave
Toronto got a pick.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you can say it's kind of an even trade.
I had mixed feelings about this when I saw it. Like right away, I was like, "What is Philly doing? Or what is Toronto doing?"
Yeah.
And then I looked at it and I was like, "Okay, it's not as bad as I thought." Because for me, Joseph Woll is the best player in this deal.
Yes,
right. He's going back to Philly. He's going to be the backup.
Yep.
Because it sounds like Philly's about to sign Dan Vladar to like a 5x5 type of deal. And Woll still has 2 more years at $3.66. So that's fine. Like you're under the $9 million range for goalie tandem. That's fine. Simone Benoit, that's a depth defenseman in my opinion. So it's whatever. Samuel Ersson, like you said, I don't think anything of him. I don't think he's good. So whatever. But he's going to be an AHL goalie for you because you're going to start Solars. You're going to have is it Hiddleby or Hildeby, whatever his name is going to be your backup. And then you get back, though, Emile Andre, which is a solid D prospect that's probably ready to play right now, who is, in my opinion, probably already better than Simone Benoit. So I like that part for Toronto because we know their defense sucks.
It does.
And they need to improve it. And so I like getting that D prospect with some upside. He's only 24. Definitely. And then you also get a third-round pick in this year's draft. So it gives you an extra bullet to either take a shot on someone or ammo to make a trade and move somewhere up in a draft if you need 100%. To. So part of me is like, I don't like this. Why'd you give up Joseph Woll? And then the other part of me went,
not fair. It's not fair.
You've got 2 goalies already, and you're getting a D prospect and draft pick. So I'd say it's pretty win-win for both teams, in my opinion. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
The next trade that happened was Colorado and Nashville. We saw a interdivision trade, which was kind of shocking. And I actually forgot about this when I was bringing up Jesperi Kotkaniemi because that 3C is probably going to be filled by their newly acquired Ross Colton.
Yeah.
So they got Ross Colton and a goalie prospect, and Colorado got back a different goalie prospect and a third-round pick from Nashville this year, and their third-round pick, Colorado's own third-round pick, is coming back to them for the 2027. And two things stuck out to me. One, I went, that seems like a very low return for Ross Colton.
Yeah.
This is his last year on the contract. It's only at $4 million, so solid.
Yeah.
Good player, good penalty killer, good on the dot. Yeah. Lots of good things there. But the thing that was interesting to me was originally it's like, they got 2 third-round picks this year and next year. But it being their own third-round pick next year, they now have ammo to offer sheet someone with it's not going to be a big player. Like a third round is whatever, unless they're trying to offer sheet someone big and it's a first and a third that has to go back because you can only offer sheet with your picks. It can't be anyone else's. So getting back your own picks, and we saw St. Louis do this.
Yeah.
Before they got Broberg and Holloway, they traded a little bit more value to get their picks back in order to use those offer sheets. Yeah. So in my head, I went, are they trying to target someone? And so that's what got me thinking about it. But as far as who won this trade, if they're not offer sheeting anybody, Nashville got the better end of this trade.
100%. Russ Colton's a pretty solid player. The only thing, like you said, RFA, or maybe they're just trying to clear up some cap. He didn't really do all that much there. He didn't hurt them by any means, but
no.
Clears up a little bit of cap for him if they're not RFAing somebody. That's kind of a trade that happens in the offseason that every so often you're just like,
yeah, okay,
all right,
yeah. And I'm gonna save the one that happened next for last. There was one more that happened today, and it was San Jose trading a 4th round pick this year and the signing rights to Boston College's center, Andre Gasso, to Boston. So Boston College kid getting signing rights from Boston for a 4th and a 5th round pick in this year's draft. So a 4th and the signing rights for a 4th and a 5th. We'll see. Yeah. Some of these college signings work out. Some of them don't. We'll see.
Trades.
Yeah, you basically traded a 4th for a 4th, and then you traded a 5th
for a prospect
for the signing rights.
Yep.
And then the one that I really, really like for, I'll say both teams, but I think one team did better than the other, is Buffalo and San Jose made an interesting trade. Was this last night? Buffalo has traded their number 27 overall draft pick and Michael Kessering to the San Jose Sharks, struggling speaking, for the number 20 overall pick. So 27 and Kessering for 20.
We've been talking about it all day. Sharks need D-man, and they have a lot of prospects. They don't really need that 20th pick. They still keep a first-round pick in the process of acquiring Michael Kessering. Really solid, and I think that's a really good acquisition for the Sharks. And the Sabres also, in return, get rid of a surplus and move up a little bit in the draft. So, like you said, pretty win-win for both teams. The Sharks definitely did win the trade, but it's not like it really hurt the Sabres all that much either.
Yeah, it's interesting for me because they just acquired Kessering last offseason when they traded J.J. Peterka. It was him and Josh Doan, maybe something else, for J.J. Peterka, and we all kind of hated it at the time because we're like, that's it, because of how Peterka had played there.
Yeah.
But Kessering's been solid. I believe he's an RFA this offseason. So Buffalo was going to have to sign him. They still need to sign Bowen Byram. They've got to make some decisions on people. So this just kind of seemed like one that was written in the stars that he was going to get moved. He wasn't going to be priority 1 or 2, probably. I would have thought that he would have got you more than moving 7 spots up in the draft, which is why I love this for San Jose, who already has the number 2 pick in the draft. You get a much-needed 26-year-old defenseman who can go into your lineup right now and honestly be one of your best defensemen immediately, and you keep a first-round pick. And we'll talk about it next week when we talk about the draft picks and the draft in general and players that we like, kind of where we think they're going to go. But after about pick 13, there's a lot of prospects that are in that big jumbled mesh from like whether it's 13 or whether it's 20, like 20 to 50, like they're all very similar in my opinion. That could kind of be interchanged anywhere. So if you're moving back 7 picks and you get an NHL defenseman that you are desperate need of, and you still are getting a first round pick, and shoot, you might still get the guy you like at 27 now.
Yeah.
So I think this is a huge win for the Sharks. And maybe there's a guy that Buffalo doesn't think is going to be there at 20, or maybe they just want to move up a little bit so that they have an extra trade chip that's a little better than a late first round pick. But we'll see. I love it for San Jose.
100%.
All right. Well, I think that's all we got all for today. We ran a little long compared to usual, but lots of prospects we want to talk about. Big news for Calgary. Couldn't be happier for Jordan Stahl. Couldn't be happier for Rod the Bod. I think he's one of 4 coaches now that have won a cup as a player and as a coach for the same organization. Love what he does. Super emotional for the boys. Love to see that. So congratulations, Carolina, and we will see you next time. See you.